debate, but did you see that interview with Brett Baer and Kamala Harris?
Contentious.
Oh my god,
she was just like Angry Birds.
Yeah, from the get-go. Just from the get-go.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it helped her at all. It was just Donald.
Yeah, well,
We're live.
We're live. Okay, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Thank you for joining us today. We've got a little update from our segment yesterday about North Korea, the troops in Russia. There's reports now that 18 North Korean soldiers have went AWOL 4.5 miles from the border of Ukraine. So they're making a run for it. The opportune time because North Korea and South Korea, that border is mined heavily, most heavily mined border in the world. So it's a little bit easier, risk getting shot by the Ukrainians or blown up by North Korea.
I mean, where are they going to go for political asylum?
Ukraine.
I mean, is that where they're going to go? They feel like that's going to be the safest place. Well, hopefully they're accepted. If that's the case.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, if they're, they drop their arms, they're willing to, they come in with their hands up. We want asylum. I think they take them in. It's a brutal regime.
And if they have families back home, we hope that their families will be okay and not used as pawns or carrots. Yeah. It's not a good thing. So.
All right. Today, big government federal spending is a threat to national security, not the silly notion of climate change. Climate always changes.
Yeah. We're having a climate change today. It's pretty chilly today.
Crisp.
So nice.
Okay, the federal deficit rose to $1.83 trillion for the fiscal year that ended last month. Now, a deficit is in a year for an administration. We're not talking about the debt. This is government spending in 1 year. $1.8 trillion.
Meaning they spent more than they took in.
They spent more than they took in,
And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of zeros, folks.
It's a growth of 13% from the year before, despite the fact that the economy is growing, right? Biden says, the economy's,
better than it ever has been.
That's what he says.
Yep.
There's no pandemic causing a government lockdown, and the military is not engaged in a large-scale conflict. During his March 7th address to Congress, Biden said, I've been delivering real results in fiscally responsible ways. We've already cut the federal deficit by over $1 trillion.
Okay. Well, so does that mean that it would have been $2.83 trillion then? I mean, it's just
out of
crazy.
Control.
I mean, what is it? I think the what we bring in tax wise, right, is around $4 trillion. I think in a year.
It says in here. Yeah. I think it's 6.
Is it that?
Yeah.
Okay. It used to be like 4. So anyway, so usually when the economy grows during peacetime, the deficit shrinks, but not under President Joe Biden. Thanks to Biden's previous spending binges, plus a record high growth in federal education spending. I love that federal education.
I know you want
caused by Biden's unilateral college tuition bailout, overall spending rose to $6.75 trillion last year.
Also spending.
Yeah. An 11% increase from the year before. Crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy numbers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Social Security and Medicare spending continue to grow faster than the overall economy, with Medicare spending $869 billion, now eclipsing defense spending.
Defense was the most.
That is, that's a number that's got to be straightened out, right?
Baby boomers, I guess.
Yeah. $826 billion for the first time in the nation's history. That was the defense spending.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit. That's a lot of billions.
That's a lot.
Yeah. More alarming is the growth in interest payments on the existing federal debt. What we just talking about.
Yeah, we talked about. We had a segment about that.
Yeah, rising from $710 billion the year before to $950 billion this last fiscal year.
Oh yeah, from 2022 to 2023.
I mean, it's going to be $1 trillion.
Yeah,
it's going to be
next year.
Over. Yeah,
next year it'll be $1 trillion.
Yeah, and this is just interest payments on the debt, and are now also larger than total military spending, which that can't be right. I mean, we both agree that needs to be one of the most important things that we spend money on, right? To have a strong military,
defending
especially in this kind of climate,
the public.
What's going on? So, and that's another historical first.
Yeah, the growth in federal spending is simply unsustainable, and higher taxes cannot solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem. Higher taxes, tax and spend. Already under existing tax rates, revenues are at an all-time high of 4.9 trillion. Right? You were close. You're right on. Individual income tax receipts rose 11% to 2.4 trillion. That happens when you've got an economy on fire. You know, the income tax goes up.
Right.
Businesses are paying taxes. They're, getting revenue.
People making more money.
Yeah, all across the board.
Right.
All boats rise.
Exactly.
Right, with a high tide. While corporate tax receipts rose 12% to 529 billion. Great. Altogether, federal revenues have averaged 17.3% of the economy since 1974. Very important. Federal revenues have averaged 17.3% of the economy, and they are set to rise to 17.9% by 2034. The problem is that federal spending as a percentage of the economy is already at 22.7% and set to rise to 24.1% a decade from now. Balance the checkbook.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what do you do when you got X amount of money coming in to spend and you spend more of that? That spells disaster at the kitchen table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you just can't do that.
You just take your credit card out and
and what are credit card rates now? They're north of 20%, right?
Oh yeah, almost 30.
Yeah, that's just not sustainable. So I don't know.
The highest federal tax revenues as a percentage of the economy have ever been was 19.8% at the height of World War II. Right? We talked about housing World War II is just booming, right? There's simply no historical precedent for our economy sustaining federal revenues above 20% of the total economy. It just can't be sustained.
Yeah. So Peter Ducey is in a contentious exchange with Karine Jean-Pierre said that Biden said, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first priority of the federal government is to provide for the common defense. We talked about that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
For most of the history, we could see this prioritization of values in our budget.
The Cold War. The Cold War, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was all Reagan, right?
Yeah.
Let's build up the defense
against the Soviets,
and we'll overcome our adversary.
And it broke the Soviet Union, their defense spending.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that broke the Soviet Union.
Right. With defense spending on top as the biggest item. But now military spending isn't first, second, or even third. It's fourth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Behind Social Security, Medicare, and debt payments.
How can debt payments be up there? I mean, that should be way at the bottom.
Yeah. They got to control the spending. So, with China constantly growing its naval fleet while investing heavily in aerial and cyber capabilities, and with Iran funding proxies to attack American interests across the globe, we should be looking to grow our defense budget, not let it shrink. Our runaway federal spending problem is fast becoming a national security problem, and it is time we started doing something about it. Yeah,
balanced budget, right?
Absolutely.
Get us a balanced budget amendment.
Yeah.
It takes 2/3 of Congress to pass an amendment, and you can do like 3/4 of the state legislatures also. We need a balanced budget amendment. Here's the text of House Resolution 3, dated the 4th of January, 2021, right before the regime change, when the idiocracy came in. This joint resolution proposes a constitutional amendment prohibiting total outlays for a fiscal year from exceeding total receipts for that fiscal year unless Congress authorizes the excess by 3/5 roll call vote of each chamber. All right. The prohibition excludes outlays for repayment of debt principal and receipts derived from borrowing. The amendment requires roll call votes of 1, 3/5 of each chamber of Congress to increase the public debt, and 2, a majority of each chamber for legislation increasing revenue. Sounds reasonable. So this is just a resolution. It's not even an amendment. It also requires the president to submit a balanced budget to Congress annually. No brainer, right? Congress is authorized to waive these requirements when a declaration of war is in effect or if the United States is engaged in military conflict which causes an imminent and serious military threat to national security.
Okay, so like we talked about many times, elections have consequences,
Yeah.
right? Make your vote count. Vote. Definitely vote.
Save
vote
our
for,
country,
yeah,
man.
vote for change and save our country. So
yeah, the debt is the deficit just adds to the debt. And he had like Biden proposed what, a $7.5 trillion budget for next year.
again, that's almost double what we're bringing in.
Yeah.
So how are they not going to raise taxes to balance that? I mean, and that's not going to happen, because the more they bring in, they spend 2.5 times that much, and it's not sustainable.
Let's remind our viewers why the United States, well, at the time the Confederate States of America, broke off from Britain. The Tea Party, right? The
Taxation without representation.
Taxation. Well, yeah. In that case, without representation. But here, it's like the boots on our neck. You know what I'm saying? Overtaxation.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you owed more than you were bringing in, and then you finally got right?
Yeah.
You finally leveled it out. You're finally living within your means. I mean, man, what a feeling that is.
It's a great feeling.
It is. And our country doesn't seem to care about that right now. And it's like you just said, we're living on the backs of the working class, and that's
for sure. Democrats don't care about that. Tax and spend, that's their mantra.
Yeah.
And there's Republicans that don't either.
There are. I'm not gonna blame it all on one side. There's some guys that they love to give back to their states and their constituents.
Yeah,
and it's just not, and we'll be coming up on that here in the next few months, right? Right after the first of the year, we'll come out with a Festivus for the rest of us again, right?
Yeah.
That was a great segment we did a long time ago. And I mean, great as far as information, but sad about what we come up with.
Comer just came out with a report about fraud, waste, and abuse with the government. They did a study. Yeah, I saw that.
We should talk about that. Yeah, those are eye-opening. That's eye-opening information. Just crazy, you know. I mean, how would you feel if you came home, you just got a raise, and you found out that your spouse or your partner just went out and spent twice as much as what you got the raise for?
Yeah,
there goes the elation for the raise.
Into 401k.
Yeah, you know, you should be saving that, or for a rainy day, or put it in your defense fund.
So, immigration is a hot topic. Economy is a hot topic. I mean, you can do all these. You can chew gum and walk at the same time. There's a big staff. Trump had a great staff. They can put all this stuff together instead of one after one after one. Get the Congress working on a balanced budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some act that has to be passed. We need control of both houses to do that.
We do, and hopefully they'll do it and not run amok. So,
in fact, write your congressman and say, "Hey, first priority for Congress, balanced budget. Your voice counts."
Well, what are the top priority concerns of the country right now? Right, our economy and the border.
Yeah.
So, it's real, people. It's real, people. I mean, if you don't know that your pocketbook is less fluent right now than it was 4.5 years ago or 5 years ago, then, man, let us know what you're doing, because it's affecting everybody that I know. I mean, at the gas pump, at the grocery store. I was listening to a segment on Fox News.
Friday night pizzas.
Yeah, I was listening to a segment today about an interviewer was in a barbershop in Detroit. He was interviewing some guys there. And one of the questions was, man, it's a life-changing situation when you go to the grocery store and you got to decide on whether you're going to buy this or buy that because of how much money you got. So
it's a real decision.
It's a real deal. Yeah.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Give us your comments.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.